Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Magic Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jude. Say hi, Jude.
Howdy.
And Lucy. Say hi, Lucy.
I live here now.
Dang, are you in my walls?
Yes, like the mold.
All right, and today we're going to be talking about a mechanic that's partners and how well we like them in Commander, basically.
Specifically, all the different variations of partner, because as time has gone on, we've gotten more and more of them. I believe there's 5, 6.
Yeah.
I could just look at the slides, but
Yeah,
I just look at the slides. Yeah,
we're gonna
it's 5. 5.
and we're gonna see how well we like each of them. All right. First is partner with. Jude, what did you rank partner with?
So I gave partner with an A, and I think if I was doing this purely just off the cuff, not thinking about it whatsoever, I probably would have just given it an S. And I do like partner with a lot. I like that it's the only partner variant that has an actual mechanic outside of just influencing who your commander can be. Because if you just throw these cards into a Sultai deck, for our examples here of Kazur and Ukima, they have like a tutor specifically for the other half of the card on them, and I think that's cool. There's another one of these mechanics that I like a little bit better, and I just bumped it down a little bit, but I still think partner with is really, really good.
I rated them S tier. I think flavorfully they're like extremely flavorful. They're not broken balance wise. And I like the rules interaction of going, I'm going to cast my partner variant, and then you can look at your opponent and go, would you like to search your deck? And they go, wait, why? And I'm like, because I'm targeting you with this trigger. You don't have to search, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed that while looking at these again. It's like, I didn't. That's weird.
And Lucy, what'd you rate it?
I also rated it an S. So I kind of agree on all fronts here. I think flavorfully, this is the one that works the best. Mechanically, it's the only way, spoiler, that I think two color partners has ever worked out that didn't break anything. And so I like that it allows for creating that flexibility. Additionally, when they introduced this with Battle Bond, you could do a really silly thing in Limited where there were various cards or ways where you could end up with things on top of your deck. And, you get into that brainstorm situation where you're like, oh, well, now I know the top 3 cards in my library aren't very good. And so if you didn't need to tutor up the other one, you could just target your two-headed buddy and say, would you like to go search for this card? And they could just shuffle their deck, which is a very niche corner case, but it was very silly. But yeah, no, mechanically, flavorfully, I think this is the cleanest execution of partner. It's the most narrow, but I think that is beneficial.
Yeah. So this is one of the best ones in all of our opinion. And it was one of the first ones, right? The very first one, I think.
I think the first partner with card was in Battle Bond, but I'm unclear on the chronology of it.
I think Battle Bond's partner with was first before the next slide version of partner. So
Yeah.
I believe that is the case.
All right, we're going to talk about the next version of partner now. And it's partner, regular partner. Jude, what'd you rate partner?
Yeah, just name brand partner here. I gave it a C. So partner has what we call play design issues, but I still think there is neat stuff you can do with this. Part of the reason that I gave partner with a little bit of a lower grade was because I felt like it was a little bit too restricting. There's not really a decision to be made with using partner with. It's just kind of like these two creatures go together. With partner, you can just jam any two creatures that both have partner written on them together. And this does some things that I do like. I know it's probably a little bit contentious, but I do like that this lets you make 4-color commander decks without having to run a 4-color commander because A, there's not a lot of those. B, their effects are often pretty specific. So these let you do a more general, like, 4-color game plan that could focus on something else. Unfortunately, and where the play design issues come in with this, is that tends to create good stuff decks that are kind of just piles of all of the best cards. I'm not really a CEDH knower, so I won't speak too much on this subject, but I know that a lot of the best CEDH decks are partner pairs, and a lot of the time they're literally just there to give you access to the colors you want. And I think that when we get into that territory, this mechanic starts being not as fun, certainly not as flavorful, but I still think there are neat partner decks you can build that are not just piles of stuff. Like Malcolm is a good example of a partner I like, both because he's monocolored and because he rewards something very specific of pirates.
Well, I rated the partners F tier. And it's mostly because a lot of the 2-color ones just feel very samey and good stuffy. And it's just like, why did we ever print the 2-color ones? And I like a lot of the monocolored ones, and I probably would have rated it higher if it was just the monocolored ones. But unfortunately, we live in a world where there's a lot of 2-color variations that are just like extremely strong, and so you can just go, I'm gonna pair my extremely powerful monocolored or 2-color pair with something that gives me access to more colors, and I don't even care about the other partner. And I don't like that aspect of it. And Lucy, what'd you rate it?
So I couldn't help but split my ranking. So I gave it a D/A plus. I think the 2-color variants, which are my D ranking, just lead to too many play design issues where they just couldn't possibly test for all the test case scenarios. That was clearly an issue when these cards were designed, and that's certainly only gotten worse. If they were to try this again now, where Wizards has openly admitted they have a lot less time to test for these things, I have a lot of concerns. But I do think the monocolored ones actually work out pretty well. We didn't really get any monocolored pairings that created long-lasting issues, as far as I'm aware. I liked that a lot of the monocolored ones, like Jude said, they're more specific. So, funny enough, Malcolm, I actually ran Malcolm Breaches as a pirate commander for a long time, and I thought it was a really fun way to do, a blue-red pirate deck, and I thought that was an interesting little twist. But my fundamental issue with the 2-color ones is I think they, by design, lead to 4-color good stuff decks. And that's why I rank them a little lower than a C. I put them in D because I just fundamentally believe that the way they're designed to be so flexible leads to them naturally producing 4-color good stuff. And that's just not something that needs to be encouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Also, like the specific partner cards we picked for this slide, like Timna and Thrasios could just be commanders by themselves, and they would still do their jobs extremely well. Like the power level,
honestly,
on just
the fact that Timna, Thrasios are the two that are on here is kind of just like, yeah, there's a couple other 2-colors that maybe are problematic. Like I've definitely run into my fair share of Thrasios plus Vile Smasher in the past. But like these are really the problem children out of that group by a pretty significant margin.
I mean, there was a reason I chose them. All right,
and then Malcolm's here. We love Malcolm.
Well,
we love Malcolm.
I wanted to. So I knew a lot of our influence, our like thoughts about it were like that the 2-color ones busted, the monocolored ones fun. So I wanted to put at least one monocolored one on the list.
Yeah. Oh, also, before we move on, I'll say the monocolored ones are great for draft. I do think that was a very clean solution to making Commander draftable when they made Commander-only sets. And so that's another reason I give Partner for the monocolored a higher ranking, because it actually makes draftable Commander significantly more viable.
All right. the next mechanic on our list was friends forever. You can have another partner if the other one has friends forever on it. Jude, what'd you rate friends forever?
Yeah, so I gave Friends Forever a B plus. I like this mechanic a surprising amount. It originates from the Stranger Things secret layer, which, let me be honest, I don't really care about whatsoever. But I think that in the universes within versions of these cards are really cool. Um, so this basically functions exactly like Partner. It's just it has a different word that gives it the mechanic, so that it's two different pools essentially. And what I like about Friends Forever a little bit better than regular Partner is, yes, while a lot of the commanders for it are like prone to four color good stuff, at least the commanders in here typically have like a mechanical through line, and that's usually artifact stuff. Like you can see Warnog investigates, Bjorna can use the clues to do stuff. Cecily is kind of an odd one out here. She doesn't really fit in.
We don't talk
Because
about 11. It's fine.
yeah, yeah, 11 from Stranger Things does not fit in with the bed. But they need to give her a cooler card. I understand that. So I like this mechanic a decent bit. Mostly just because it does have the mechanical through line on most of the cards.
I
Yeah.
gave it a B because I think that the mechanical through line actually makes it not four color good stuffy. I think with Cecily, I don't. I think a lot of decks that are paired with her are four color good stuff, and I don't love those. But I think that a lot of the other ones have like enough like clue and artifact synergy to where they feel less four color good stuff, which makes it a nice breath of fresh air to see them at the table. Whereas if I saw a partner with four colors, I'd just be like, this is gonna be definitely four color good stuff. And Lucy rated it. Would you rate it, Lucy?
I stuck with the rest of the crew on this. I rated Friends Forever as a B for largely the same reasons. I think having a subset group for partners is a very healthy alternative to just having partner with two colors. I actually think the mechanical through line for this subgroup is pretty good. I think besides Cecily, I don't actually think there is another Friends Forever that's outside of it in this because the Mind Flayer card didn't have Friends Forever, obviously. I think a lot of these work out pretty well. I think they pair up with some kind of thematic purpose. I think my biggest issue here is something that we'll touch on again later, where I really don't enjoy having the same mechanic functionally reprinted under a different name. And my concern of Friends Forever and why it's not honestly an A is that is this just the future of universes beyond Commanders, where they just say, okay, well, here's a thematic version of Partners with Subset, and now it has 17 different names. And I think we're already kind of seeing that be a tool that they're willing to lean on, and sometimes has beneficial purposes. Like we all generally seem to think this is a relatively good idea. I just don't want to see 20 Friends Forever variants. I don't want to see 5, frankly, and we already have 2.
I will also say that these ones are like gonna be would be like hard to revisit, like simply because they don't want to like make it too partner
Yeah,
ish.
part of the reason that this works well is because the pool is smaller, so you can't really print a bunch
Yeah.
of other things into the pool. For that reason, I think I'm fine if there's a bunch of partner variants. I don't think it's really gonna bug me that much. Um, yeah. Two other things I will say about these. One, there is another one of them that doesn't really fit in with the artifact stuff. It's the white green one. It's 3 mana. It can tap to reanimate something that died this turn, like a creature specifically. And the second thing is, I think it's really funny that all of these like Innistrad people that are using like evil magic and blowing things up with their mind have Friends Forever written on the card. That's funny to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the classic place you go to make friends in Estrad,
Yeah,
especially as a human.
yeah. One of the most wholesome planes in Magic, definitely.
Definitely.
Truly, almost as wholesome as Duskmourn.
Yeah.
There's definitely no brain-eating monsters in Innistrad.
Yeah. Give us a winter with friends forever, Watsy.
All right.
His vibes are too bad.
The next mechanic was background slash choose a background, where if your commander has choose a background, you could choose a legendary background to be your partner. Jude, what'd you rate background?
I give backgrounds an S. This is my favorite of these easily, partially just because I really like enchantments, but also just I think it's a lot more interesting to have essentially an enhancement for your commander, which is what all of the backgrounds are, if I remember correctly. They all basically just give your commander another ability. And I find that a little bit more interesting personally than just having two creatures in the command zone. Especially because I feel like a lot of the backgrounds are a lot more usable in like non-partner or non-background C or EDH decks. Not CEDH. I've seen more backgrounds floating around in just like other lists than I have any like partner with, or certainly. Well, I mean, you could probably throw Temna or Thrasios in any deck and they'd be okay. But yeah, I don't know. I like this a lot.
I gave it an A. I first off, the fact that the subset is like these legendary enchantments and that they can't like all be like connected with each other definitely like bumped the grade up a lot. And another reason that I upped the grade a bit was because if you don't have your creature commander out, your background won't do anything, which lets your opponents have a lot of room to interact with your deck, which I think is really nice as well. And I honestly think that they could make some two color backgrounds because of these limitations, because the interaction you have to have at least you have to have your creature commander out for your deck to do its thing, which means there's more interaction, and the fact that you can't just willy-nilly smash them up with like just any also makes it pretty good. And that's my opinions on it. We'll see, what'd you rate background?
I also came in at an A, I like borderline A plus. I'm pretty high on background. It's secretly the third partners with subset, because if they basically just had partners with subset and the subset is backgrounds, that mechanically works very similar. But I really like the fact that this is just like Jude said, an enhancement on a commander. I like that you can run in some situations. You can just run backgrounds in your commander deck if you just value the ability that that background gives to your commander when it's in play highly enough. So there's another mechanical angle to evaluate the cards on. But I really just enjoy that you can enhance commanders that are sometimes fine. There's certainly some from these D&D sets, or this D&D set, I should say, that are lackluster without a background, but really I think they're just being enhanced, and I think that's very cool. So overall, I rate it pretty highly. I still prefer the partner with a specific card as kind of a more restriction breeds creativity, in a sense that I prefer, where you're essentially just making a 3-color card out of 2 cards. But this is pretty close for me.
Yeah. All right, this is the final partner mechanic, and it's Doctor's Companion. You can have two commanders if one is a Doctor's Companion and the other is the Doctor. Jude, what did you rate it?
I gave this a D for don't care. I don't care about Doctor Who. There's so many cards in this pool. It kind of has the reverse problem of Friends Forever, in my opinion, of like there's a lot of doctors, and there are also a lot of doctors' companions. Also, they're really color imbalanced, and like I get that a lot of the Doctor Who cards want to be blue because it's about like time travel and stuff. But like
Time travel
it's
and
still,
smart British people.
that's an oxymoron.
Blue's natural pie.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't care about these cards flavorfully, and I think there's too many of them, and they don't really have a mechanical through line, in my opinion. A lot of them can interact with the same things, but like, I don't know. I assume they gave synergies or special synergies to the doctors and like the companions they actually had in the show, but I don't watch the show, so I don't really know and I don't really care. My one saving grace for why I didn't give this an F was because I think it's really, really funny that you can run Arcade Ganon from the Fallout decks as your commander, and he's a doctor, so you can run a doctor's companion with him.
So actually, that does not work.
It doesn't?
The reason it's worded as "is the Doctor" is to differentiate between creature type Doctor and cards that are the Doctor. They actually went over this when they released the set because it was a huge sticking point of people being like, "Oh, well, we can just have the Doctor's companions go with Morophon or whatever," and they were trying to avoid situations like that. And so yes, it's weirdly worded, but welcome to Universes Beyond.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even read the like Doctor's companion reminder text correctly. I just thought it said if the other is a doctor, not if it's the Doctor. So
I think it's funny enough. You just roll with it.
I just really enjoy like this like post-apocalyptic gay boy hanging out with like these random British people, and neither of them know who the other is. That's funny to me. I also just like Arcade Ganon a lot as a kid. Anyways, Jam.
I rated it a B. I really like Doctor Who, and I was gonna give this a lot higher rating, but then I'm like, I'm letting my Doctor Who bias get to me, so I had to bump it down. And I bumped it down for primarily two reasons. A, Doctor's Companion causes a lot of confusion, and people who like don't interact with Doctor Who, which I think is a little bit of a I don't like that much. I think it creates creates a lot of rules confusion, and
I certainly had some rules confusion.
Yeah,
I didn't know how the mechanic worked.
Yeah, and it's like I don't like that fact, and I also don't like the fact that it's gonna be almost impossible to reprint these into a Universe Beyond set. And
Universe Within set.
And I kind of like when they reprint these Universes Beyond into Universes Within, simply for like,
boy, do I have bad news for you.
Simply because accessibility, like sometimes it's hard to like get a hold of certain cards, especially like if they're like popular or limited release. And printing Universes Within versions can sort of help with that. But because these are Time Lord Doctors, it makes it extremely hard to print Universes Within versions of these. And Lucy, what'd you give it?
I'll kind of continue on with this. So I also rated it a B for kind of a mixture of reasons. But I'll say a couple of things here on, first of all, I am a big Doctor Who fan. I love Doctor Who. This could have been something that I adored. And there are cards from the set that I hold in a special place. I think for the most part, it kind of has the same cost-benefit analysis as Friends Forever. There's a little bonus here that almost makes me want to bump it to B+, where the Doctor's Companion cards tend to sometimes be playable in decks where they're just not the companion. They kind of have a little bit of that background situation where I've seen decks that just aren't running any other Doctor Who cards run a couple of the random companions because they happen to thematically fit. And I always appreciate when these Universes Beyond cards can play outside of their little personal sandbox. I'll say as far as Universes Within goes, Wizards of the Coast has been pretty upfront that they're not going to be doing Universes Within for every Universes Beyond set anymore. So I would not be surprised if we never get universes within versions of these cards, which is unfortunate for a lot of reasons. But also, that's just kind of the route they've gone as they printed more of them. Like the only reason we're getting universes within Spider-Man is because they couldn't afford the digital rights.
Yeah.
Makes me
But
sad.
overall, I say it's a B. I think these are roughly the same, pro con benefit grade as Friends Forever. But I think there's a little subset benefit of the companions having a place outside of just Doctor decks. But overall, it's fine. It does its job. It's okay.
And we have one more slide, even though we've rated all of the mechanics that our partner asked. And it's Lucy's bonus question. Lucy, why don't you ask your bonus question?
Sure. So I couldn't help but ponder when this discussion first came up. Everyone seems to have a commander or pair of commanders that they wish had partner or partners with, and I wanted to know what y'all's were. And I'll kick it off since I was the last to go and I got to formulate all my arguments for my ratings this entire time. I'll throw my sacrificial lambs on the pyre. So I have a favorite and then an honorable mention. My honorable mention is an old Cold Snap favorite, which is Darien, King of Keldor. He's a 6-mana legendary creature, human soldier, 3/3. It says whenever you're dealt damage, you may create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. This is a fun card. It's just incredibly understated because it was printed in Cold Snap, a set that had 3 good cards in it. I say as someone who has opened an uncomfortable amount of Cold Snap for not being around when it was first printed. And I just think Darien would be a lot more fun if you could just toss on another color in here and kind of see what you could do with red or maybe black self damage. Darien could be silly. But my true answer for this is my beloved is a creature that I've tried to make work in mono green and with some success, but mostly not. And that is Aeve Progenitor Ooze, Aeve Progenitor Ooze, legendary creature ooze from Modern Horizons 2. Storm. Aeve Progenitor Ooze isn't legendary if it's a token, and Aeve enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other ooze you control, and is naturally a 2/2. I want this card to have red on it so bad you have no idea.
Yeah.
Red is.
I want to be able to play this with my red oozes. I want to play it with my ritual spells. But for now, I will settle playing it with Slime Against Humanity and Ramp.
Yeah, red is the home of Storm cards, and Aeve has Storm on it, so it feels kind of red-ish. But...
Yeah, mono green Storm is a hard sell.
Mono green Storm is a hard sell. I say Storm, well, most at home in blue-red. I'm pretty sure it's shown up in every color at this point, though, as I'd argue, best shown up in blue, red, and black, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend Tendrils of Agony doesn't exist. I'm not a Tendrils of Agony denier.
All right, Jude, what'd you choose as your answer to the bonus question?
So I think a creature that I would like to see have either partner or specifically Friends Forever is Belby, Corrupted Observer. She's for a black and a green, a 2/2 legendary Phyrexian zombie elf. At the beginning of each player's post-combat main phase, the active player adds generic, so 2 generic mana for each of your opponents who lost life this turn, or 2 colorless mana, I guess. I forget the proper nomenclature. So I will say, kind of, if you want to ride that specific dragon of like, oh, I wish these 2 cards had commander or had partner. A lot of stores will run pride events for commander where you can give any 2 creatures partner. And I was kind of thinking about doing that last year, and I wanted to specifically do Belby with the Teysa from Murders at Karlov Manor, who investigates for each opponent who lost life this turn. Also, they would probably be a cute couple. But I also like the idea of this Phyrexianized zombie elf, who I think is also Eladrami's daughter, if those words in that order mean anything to you. I like the idea of her
dozens
hanging
of
out
us.
with a bunch of like of either like teenagers or I don't know, random Innistrad guys. But yeah, I don't know. I just like that card. I've just yet to find a place to run it, but she's cool.
All right.
For all of you who love your goth baddies, you can have Belby. Belby's great.
Yeah, there you go.
For my answer to this question, I said that Breaches the Blast Maker should partner with Malcolm the Eyes. What they what they do is they have flurry basically. Breaches is whenever you cast your second spell, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, flip a coin. You may choose heads or tails. If it lands on if you win the flip, you copy the spell. If you lose the flip, you deal damage equal to the spell's mana value is it target opponent or random opponent? Let me look.
Any target.
So I'm looking at the
Any
card now.
target.
Any target.
Any target.
Yeah.
And I would partner him with Malcolm the Eyes, which is whenever you cast your second spell each turn, investigate. I mean, these cards just like work really well with each other. Malcolm and Breaches are kind of gay for each other, and it wouldn't be that broken, and that's why I think they should be partnered with each other.
Yeah, I do
I'd let
like
it slide.
that. Yeah, I think you could definitely like rule zero that if you really wanted, especially considering Malcolm and Breaches have both had partner printed in the past. I do like that there's like is it versions of both of them because it's kind of like, oh, they've rubbed off on each other, and now they're both blue red as opposed to Malcolm being blue and Breaches just being red. I think that's sweet. Also, I guess if you only like one of them, you can just run one as the commander now. But I don't know. Do not separate them. They're a package deal.
If you only like one of them because you're a homophobic hater, then sure.
They deserve to be together on every single printing of their cards, and they're only together on one, and it's so sad.
In this podcast household, we stand Malcolm and Breaches.
Yeah. Hell yeah, we do.
Cowards.
All right. I think that's all for today. Remember, everybody, don't deck and drive. Lucy, say don't deck and drive.
Don't drive and deck.
Jude?
Always partner responsibly.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.